A reading from the Acts of the Apostles. Brothers, sons of the stock of Abraham, and those among you who fear God, it is to you that the word of this salvation has been sent. For those who were living in Jerusalem and its rulers, heeding neither him nor the voices of the prophets that are read on every Sabbath, fulfilled these by judging him. And although they found no case for death against him, they petitioned Pilate so that they might put him to death. And when they had fulfilled everything that was written about him, taking him down from the tree, they placed him in a tomb. But God raised him up from the dead on the third day, and he was seen for many days by those who had ascended with him from Galilee to Jerusalem, who are now his witnesses to the people. And we are announcing to you that the promise which was made to our fathers has been fulfilled by God for our children by raising up Jesus, just as it was written in the second psalm, "You are my son, this day I have begotten you."
You are my son, this day I have begotten you. I myself have set up my king on Zion, my holy mountain. I will proclaim the decree of the Lord. The Lord said to me, you are my son, this day I have begotten you. Ask of me, and I will give you the nations for an inheritance, and the ends of the earth for your possession. You shall rule them with an iron rod. You shall shatter them like an earthen dish. You are my son, this day I have begotten you. And now, O kings, give heed. Take warning, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear and rejoice before him with trembling rejoice. You are my son, this day I have begotten you.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Do not let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwellings. If it were otherwise, I would have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will return again, and then I will take you to myself, so that where I am you also may be. And you know where I am going, and you know the way. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going, so how can we know the way? Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Join us for today's reflection. The sound of your heartbeat in your ears, the tightness in your chest, the racing thoughts that won't quiet down, troubled hearts, we know them well. Anxiety has become our cultural pandemic. Studies show 40% of Americans report being more anxious than ever. Our medicine cabinets and therapy couches confirm it. The disciples knew this feeling. Gathered with Jesus for their final meal, they sensed something ominous approaching. Their teacher had been speaking of betrayal, of departure, of things they couldn't understand. Their hearts were troubled indeed. Into this atmosphere of anxiety, Jesus speaks the words we desperately need today. Do not let your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. not empty reassurance, but a declaration that reshapes reality. Not denial of our fears, but an invitation to locate them within a larger truth. There is room for you in God's dwelling. Even when the world seems to be collapsing, even when the future is unclear, even when the present is unbearable, there is room for you in God's home. The promise of dwelling places speaks to our deepest human need, the need to belong, to be at home. Not just any home, but our true home, the place where we are known, welcomed, and secure. This promise echoes back to our first reading from Acts, where Paul continues his synagogue address. Having traced God's faithfulness through Israel's history, he brings the story to its climax. We bring you the good news that what God promised to our ancestors, he has fulfilled for us, their children, by raising Jesus. The ancient promise, "You are my son, today I have begotten you," takes on new meaning as Paul applies it to Jesus' resurrection. Everything Israel had hoped for finds fulfillment in this decisive act. The one declared Son now prepares dwelling places in the Father's house. Our psalm captures the royal authority behind this declaration. Psalm 2 portrays divine sonship as the basis for universal reign. "Ask of me, and I will make the nations your heritage, and the ends of the earth your possession." The psalm offers a powerful warning to earthly rulers. "Now therefore, O kings, be wise, be warned, O rulers of the earth. Blessed are all who take refuge in him." When Thomas expresses confusion, "Lord, we do not know where you are going. How can we know the way?" Jesus responds with one of his most profound statements, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." The way home is not a map or a method, but a person. Not abstract principles or complex systems, but a living connection to the one who knows the Father because he comes from the Father. These readings speak directly to our anxious age. We live in a world of troubled hearts, troubled by personal struggles, relationship breakdowns, financial pressures, health concerns, global uncertainties. Into this troubled reality, Jesus still speaks, "Do not let your hearts be troubled." Not because troubles don't exist, but because there is room for troubled hearts in God's dwelling. Not because the path forward is clear, but because the way himself walks with us. Not because chaos doesn't threaten, but because the true King establishes order beyond human understanding. The promise fulfilled in resurrection assures us that death, whether physical, emotional, or social, doesn't have the final word. The dwelling places prepared in the Father's house guarantee that displacement, whether geographic, economic, or spiritual, isn't our ultimate destiny. The way embodied in Jesus means that disorientation, whether intellectual, moral, or existential, won't be our final condition. We often seek security in the wrong places, in perfect certainty, in financial stability, in social status, in health guarantees. But these readings point to a more fundamental security, relationship with the one who has conquered death, who prepares our true home, who is himself the way to the Father. Paul's synagogue audience had to decide whether this surprising fulfillment of ancient promises was good news or threat to their understanding. Thomas had to recognize that relationship with Jesus, not geographical destination, was the way home. We too face similar questions. Will we trust the promise fulfilled in resurrection? Will we follow the way embodied in Jesus? Will we acknowledge the King who brings order to chaos? Do not let your hearts be troubled. Not because trouble doesn't exist, but because there is a larger reality that holds our troubles. Not because the journey is easy, but because the way walks with us. Not because the world isn't chaotic, but because the true King reigns. In a world of troubled hearts, may we find courage in the promise fulfilled, direction in the way revealed, and security in the King enthroned. May we discover, even now, our place in God's home.